All right. Well, good morning from William First United Methodist Church and all of you who are joining us online for this Talkback Tuesday. As I mentioned last week and in church this Sunday, we are doing Talkback Tuesday a little bit differently this time around. And we have a guest or maybe two guests for this conversation.
Yeah.
So we're gonna talk. This past Sunday, we talked about kind of an introduction to Wesley's three simple rules, and I've invited our new district superintendent, Brandon Vetter, to join us for a little discussion on how Brandon understands these rules and how he has seen them impact his world and those around him. So, Brandon, love to have you just take a second to introduce yourself to those who may not know you yet.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. I'm Brandon. I'm the district superintendent here in the Southeast. My family and I live here in Sioux Falls. Married to Vicky for 21 years. Yep, that's right. Two kids, a sophomore and an eighth grader. We've been in the role here, been here since end of June, and have very much enjoyed both getting to know the community of Sioux Falls and the district as I've been making my way around. Oh, and the other friend here with me who's taking a nap on my desk. This is Princess Luna, our black cat. I recommend not naming your cat like Princess Luna because every time I take her to the vet, I've got to take her in one of those cat strollers. So every time I take her to the vet, they call out Princess Luna. And I just feel a little dumb standing up with this stroller and pushing this cat in there like she is the, queen of the world. Although she might feel that way.
Very funny. Is that a Super Mario Galaxy reference?
Princess Luna? No, it's
Yeah.
actually My Little Ponies. So when we
Oh,
got her
okay.
9 years ago, Princess Luna is one of the My Little Pony characters that my daughter just loved.
Nice, wonderful. Well, that's great information. Not just why we're here today, but this past Sunday we kind of kicked off our series on Wesley's Three Simple Rules, and we're looking at this as a way to approach life and faith in a very contentious season. I shared
Mhm.
with the folks that in Bishop Reuben Job's book, he leads off in the introduction saying, "We have never lived in a more divided time," and then pointing out that he wrote this in 2007. And so
Right?
perhaps we do live in a more divided time, but his whole thesis is that this provides us a way, just as it did for John Wesley, to engage in our world um, from a faithful perspective, but also that seeks to bring together rather than divide. And so, first question I just want to ask you is when I say Wesley's three simple rules, what does that mean to you? What comes to mind? What does it bring up for you?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, right at the top, it's like, okay, well, it's do no harm, do good, stay in love with God.
Yeah.
And so when you propose this, I had to go back and see where they originated. And so John Wesley has some great notes on the rules. And Bishop Job did a good job of reinterpreting that third rule. Because in Wesley's original language, it's something like attend to the ordinances of God.
Yeah.
We we don't talk like that today.
What does that mean, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
an ordinance of God? Which it's the spiritual disciplines that we all know. It's worship, it's Bible study, it's prayer, it's other kinds of study. But for me, and when I was looking back at John Wesley's notes on this, I think what was most powerful was that these were an outcome of the inward transformation. So that whole evangelical notion of being transformed from the inside out, that to quote unquote prove or to show you actually did follow Jesus, you lived out these three things. So as we tell fruit by their action, by Christians by our love, that's what these three things do. So if I see in you that you are striving to do no harm, you're striving to do good, you're striving to stay in love with God every day, then I know you do actually follow Jesus. So yeah, that's what comes to mind when I think of the three simple rules.
Yeah, and I love that you hit kind of on the fruits of the spirit piece because that's something that Bishop Job does bring up in the introduction of saying, like, as we look at what does it look to live faithfully, there are these outward signs, and he goes right to that, right to that passage in Galatians, and then also catches it with some Colossians passages. And
Mhm.
so I love the fact that although we are doing this as a topical study, that some of the sources we're using and you go immediately to scripture. As Wesleyans, we believe that that's one of the corners of our
Mhm.
quadrilateral, right? That is the foundation for our life. And so I would just say for you, what do these rules look like for you in practice? And where are some areas that you have seen them lived out successfully?
Yeah. Yeah, personally, I mean, you're talking about engaging in worship and daily prayer, scripture reading, study, Sabbath. and striving to do all that you can to do no harm and to do good. I was reading up some other folks' devotionals on this week, and one woman wrote very powerfully on just one aspect of doing no harm in our words and our language. And you brought up Bishop Reuben Job's notion about we're never more polarized in 2007, and he'd be surprised in 2024. But yeah, so much of the words that we speak to each other, even as fellow Christians to each other, I mean, my goodness, we can speak without so much and lacking the fruit of the Spirit that there are many times we can do a much better job of not harming each other just in the way we speak. Even if we have differing convictions coming out of the same scripture, my goodness, we can still do so
Yeah.
in the fruits of the Spirit and in the way John Wesley wants us to. I mean, other places I've seen them lived out. I mean, just even in my short time here in the district, so many churches are living out, doing good, especially. I mean, I see all the different service projects. It was this summer, people collecting school supplies for schools. A number of our churches in the district have partnerships with schools. And so, always very cool to see some of those partnerships are like decades long. I'm thinking of one church in particular that they always host like the welcome back night, the orientation night, and they're serving like almost 1,000 people. And this church is in a public school to do that and to show, my goodness, to show love to their neighbors, and that's just powerful. So yeah, I see our churches, I see our people striving to reach these three things, to show what I think John Wesley said, to show the outward righteousness that inward righteousness is doing in us.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love the fact that you bring up the challenges of these. And for us as United Methodists, all of us know these past few years have been really challenging on this front.
Oh yeah.
And we've been super divided within our own tradition. And I think for many of us, that now that some have left, that we're through that, we need to remember that we're not. And as big tent people, we need to create spaces where all are able to share and be part of the fellowship. And so I would say, you kind of open the door with this, but I'm going to push you a little further on it. As you survey our area with some fresh eyes, what are areas that we need to do better? You mentioned the words, but what are other areas that we need to do a better job living out these simple rules?
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely moving in the right direction. I don't know if I'd pick on like there's this one thing we have to do. We simply need to keep moving deeper in all of them.
Mm,
Because it's the number three, the stay in love with God. That's to me, that's like the engine, that's the thing that's gonna power the other two. Like the more we're in connection with God, the more we attend to the ordinances, the more we're in worship and scripture and prayer and Bible study, we're gonna find doing no harm and we're gonna find doing good. Um, Quote unquote easier is not it, but maybe we'll find it'll come more naturally. Like as we stay close to God, it's going to be um, more of a default setting for us to be like, okay, I don't want to say that thing. Okay, that's not going to be the most helpful. I'm going to go this direction. I think it is that inner spiritual transformation that can help all of us keep doing those first two, keeping the first two rules much more effectively. So yeah, I wouldn't say there's like one thing. I'd say let's keep staying in love with God, and we're going to find the other two things are going to continue to grow, both in ourselves, in our churches, and as leaders.
Yeah, and I think you wrote for now about a week and a half ago, or maybe it was just a week ago, in your Wesleyan Way letter that we shared on our church Facebook page about the movement towards perfection, right? And I think what you're hitting on is really significant. That this movement, the more it's the water that we swim in, the more it
Mhm.
continues to transform us and move us forward. Well, Brandon, I just want to thank you for taking a few minutes to chat with me here. For my folks at the church to get to know you a little better, and you'll be with us in just a few short weeks for our Charge Conference. And we look forward to welcome you in person. But again, thank you so much for this time and for sharing what's on your heart.
Hey, you're welcome, Jordan.